Hi, Todd VanDenburg here with VanDenburg Capital Management and another Uncommon Sense update. So the markets seem to have found a trading range. The Dow seems to be going between 25 and 26,000. It closed the day at 25,445, which is within a point or two of where we actually started the month. So while we did at one point get over 27,000 on the Dow at one point this month, right now we're basically flat. So again, if you're Rip Van Winkle and you went to sleep at the beginning of the month and you woke up this morning, or actually this afternoon, you'd think, oh, nothing to worry about, and you'd go back to sleep. Now, there are some things that caused some intense volatility today. We're starting to get reports of increased positive tests for coronavirus in those areas that have opened up, increased people's ability to, congregate in close quarters with or without masks. And nobody really honestly didn't expect this. I mean, it's a virus, it gets transmitted, and people are imperfect. So it's not really shocking that the number of tests have gone up, in addition to the fact that we are testing more and more people. So the increase is not due solely to the number of increased tests, but that is a factor. So we're not too worried about that, because the thing that we focus on are the hospitalization rate and the fatality rate. And those are not going off the charts. The hospitals have plenty of capacity to handle additional coronavirus cases. And as long as the people that are in the higher risk categories continue to be super vigilant about staying away from people that could potentially give them the disease, then we shouldn't see the hospitalization rate or the fatality rates go off the rails. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. Today, what I wanted to talk about is some things that I keep getting asked about. I do a lot of these videos, and some people say that I am taking too optimistic of a view on things, and so I keep getting asked, Todd, what concerns you? And there actually are things that concern me. Nothing that is imminent, nothing that I'm concerned about today, tomorrow, or this week. That opinion could change depending on what the government does as far as shutting things down again or opening things up more. But there are two big things that sort of concern me, and they're not imminent. These are not things that I'm going to freak out about and telling everybody to drop out of the market tomorrow. But the first one that concerns me is the national debt. The national debt is now above $26 trillion. That's just shocking. At $26 trillion, it's arguable that maybe we'll never actually pay that money back, but we're certainly never going to pay it back if we can't start ourselves on a trajectory that has us actually spending less than the federal government brings in. Now, the reason that this is not of imminent concern to me is really the fact that interest rates are going to continue to be low for at least a couple of years, according to the Federal Reserve. So when you look at, since President Obama took office to today, the national debt has more than tripled. But over that same time period, the interest that we pay on the debt has only doubled. And again, this has a lot to do with interest rates being at historic lows. So what that means is that as long as we can pay the interest on our debt, then as a country, we're not in any jeopardy. It's sort of like if you have a credit card and you charge it up a whole lot, as long as you can make that monthly payment, the credit card company can't do anything to you. And that's the same thing with the national debt. We're now paying about $600 billion a year in interest. And when all this started, when we go back to the beginning of the Obama administration, we were paying about $300 billion. So it's still a lot of money, but it's not like the interest on the debt is quadrupling. So what concerns me is 5, maybe 10, even 15 years from now, interest rates will start to go up. And as interest rates start to go up and we have to refinance some of this debt, we're going to see that the interest payment that we have to make is going to go up, and it's going to go up rapidly. So it's not an issue that I'm concerned about today, but it is a very real issue, And it's something that we should be talking to our elected officials about and trying to get them to, live within their means. We all have, especially since, the coronavirus, we all have had to live within our means and then some. And the government, for as long as I've been alive, other than a couple of years, has really never been able to do that. So that's a thing that I am concerned about. It's something that I watch pretty closely. If interest rates started to rise rapidly, then I'd have more concerns. But right now, we are more than able to pay the interest on our debt. So our debt is really not our most pressing problem. But at $26 trillion, it's a problem. The other thing that is sort of concerning to me, it really has to do with what we saw the government do during the coronavirus, this whole situation. And, one of the things that makes the United States great and different from many other nations is that, property and property rights have meaning. So if you own something in the United States, it's presumed that, nobody can just take it away from you or make it so that that thing has no value. And when the government shut everything down, for a lot of people, if your sole retirement income is based upon the fact that you have some rental properties and you collect income on your rental properties, so you saved your whole life so that you could have income in retirement from your rental properties, you don't have an IRA, you don't have a pension. Well, the government basically said, hey, look, renters, we're not telling you to not pay your rent, but if you don't have to, we're not going to let the landlords evict you for non-payment. So that's great for tenants, but it's not great for the property owners. And that's alarming, right? Because if owning something doesn't, if you don't have a sense of certainty about what you own, then the value of that thing may not be what you think it is. So now let me correlate this to the stock market. So the government, again, shut things down and told tons of companies that, sorry, your revenues now get to be cratered. Your revenues in many cases went down by 90, 95%. You look at movie theaters, revenues were down like 98%. I don't even know how they got 2% of their revenue, since who was going to the movies during the height of the pandemic. So again, if you own stock in these companies, the expectation is that stock has a value based upon the company's ability to generate revenue. And if the government can come in at any moment and wholesale shut that down, then we do have to ask ourselves, is the value of these equities, of stocks, is it really appropriate? Now, again, the government has eased back, and there's been all kinds of information coming from specifically the federal government that they're not going to shut things down like they did before again. So I'm not overly concerned about it happening imminently, but it does raise a concern that if the things that we own that we think have a certain value don't really have that value because their ability to generate revenue can be taken away at a moment's notice, then that sort of questions the fundamental underpinnings of how we view capital in the United States. So I'm not a doom and gloomer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not worried that the government's taking everything over and we're all just socialism's taken over and we're all just going to be slaves to the government. Nothing like that. But it does concern me that we now have a situation where we thought the things that we owned had a certain value based upon some assumptions, and those assumptions are being challenged. So I'm watching this super closely, because if I don't, and I miss a telltale sign, the markets could get hit pretty hard if we continue the trend of, well, we're going to shut the country down for a half a year every other year or so, because these viruses are not going away. So that's a couple of things that concern me. Again, neither one is of imminent concern. I don't want anybody to be freaked out, but I do want people to know that there are real dangers ahead. But it's not like we're on the Titanic and it's too late to turn, we're going down with the ship. This is more like we're on a drive from San Francisco to New York City, and we got about halfway across the country, and we took a detour, and all of a sudden we're heading south. We don't have to keep heading south. We can make a left turn and head towards New York again. But we have to actually do those things, and we have to change course so that we end up where we want to be. So if anybody has any questions about this or any other financial matter, I'm always here. Give me a call, send me an email, post a message to this video. I'm happy to reply. But that was your update. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, give us a share, and I'll be back soon with another Uncommon Sense update. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to be the first to hear of more Uncommon Sense updates like these, please click the subscribe button below. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again.